Let's come to order, please. Very fortunate this evening to have Pastor Mark Carey, Fellowship Bible Church, to deliver our invocation. Thank you, sir.
Let's pray, shall we? Father, thank you so much for the privilege of knowing you, of having a relationship with you, you the giver of every good gift. Thank you, Father, for this day that you've provided for us, the strength to live it and to serve others. I pray, Father, tonight for these servants, these public servants. Give them the wisdom they need to make decisions that are right and honorable and beneficial to the people in this fair area, Father. Thank you so much for this evening. We grant it, Father, that you would be honored and glorified. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Vice Chairman Fisher, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda, are there any changes?
Yes, sir. Under the minutes section, which is tab A in your packet, number 2 and number 3 were meetings at which not all board members were present, and we don't normally put those on consent agenda, so I would suggest you leave 1 on consent and pull 2 and 3 off in case the members who were absent don't want to vote for those minutes. And the second item is that as part of the Finance Committee report, it has been suggested that you add reconsideration of the request for funding from Stevens City Fire and Rescue that came before you previously. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to amend the agenda accordingly.
So move.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
And the second, is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We'll amend our agenda thusly. So, this is the portion of the meeting that we have set aside for citizen comments on any agenda
You
item.
skipped the consent agenda?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, I'm sorry. We just amended it. So, the consent agenda, tabs A, E, F, G, as amended. How would the board like to handle that one?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, no. We'll so amend our agenda. That will bring us to citizen comments. Anyone sign up, Mr. Tibbs?
No, sir.
No, sir. Board of Supervisors comments, are there any? All right. So that will bring us to item number 2 under minutes, the work session with the Economic Development Authority of March 30th, 2017. How would the board like to handle them?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second, is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The minutes of our March 30th work session are approved. Item number 3, the retreat with the Sanitation Authority on the same date, March 30th, 2017.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We'll adopt those as well. Vice Chairman Fisher, if you would, if you'd help me. Ms. Myers, if you come forward and join us, please. The Employee of the Month Award Program recognizes county's employees as an important and valuable resource. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors, it's my pleasure to present Judy L. Myers for consideration as Employee of the Month for April 2017. Judy serves as an animal caretaker with the Frederick County Esther Boyd Animal Shelter. Judy went the extra mile to provide exceptional customer service to a concerned citizen when they called about Buddy, an older dog they had recently adopted from the shelter. Buddy was not eating, depressed, was afraid to go outside after getting a shock from invisible fencing. Judy was familiar with Buddy because she had been his caretaker since he first arrived at the shelter, nearly emancipated. Thanks to a special diet and Judy's care, Buddy was healthy and fluffy and ready for adoption. Judy's concern for Buddy and the family that adopted him motivated her to visit their home to provide advice and help with Buddy's adjustment. Buddy perked right up when he saw Judy, and by the end of the visit, Buddy was eating and felt comfortable going back into the yard. Buddy is happy, healthy, and has adjusted well to his new home and family. I'll now entertain a motion to approve Judy L. Myers as Employee of the Month for April 2017.
So moved,
Second.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second?
Second.
A second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Judy L. Myers is hereby recognized as Frederick County Employee of the Month for April 2017. The Board of Supervisors extends its gratitude to Judy for her outstanding performance and dedicated service and wishes her continued success in future endeavors. Congratulations. Well done. Thank you so much for all you do. Well done.
And Buddy's on the screen over there, for those of you who didn't see it.
There's Buddy.
Hey, nice dog.
Almost want to take him myself.
We'll compete.
That will bring us to committee appointments. Social Services Board.
Mr. Chairman, we seem to go from feast to famine. We do have a couple of individuals who have expressed a desire to serve on the Social Services Board, and I would like to reserve that vote until the next meeting so that these individuals may attend the meeting and get familiar and see if they would be a good fit for that board.
All right. Sounds like a good plan. Any objections? That's great. Very exciting that we have multiple applicants. That's great.
Very.
Board of Building Appeals. Are we ready? Okay. We will be looking for a member at large for Board of Building Appeals. Historic Resources Advisory Board, O'Peckin.
Not ready at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Historic Resources Advisory Board, Gainsborough.
Not ready at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Planning Commission. We have Rhodes Marston from Back Creek.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think Mr. Marston has done an outstanding job on the Planning Commission, and I would move to reappoint Mr. J. Rhodes Marston as Back Creek District Representative to the Planning Commission.
A motion to reappoint, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second, is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. J. Rhodes Marston is reappointed to the Planning Commission. O'Peckin, Roger L. Thomas.
Mr. Chairman, I'll get back with you on that.
Yes, sir. Then we have a Social Services Board that expires in June. So that may be, well, you could combine that with the other discussion.
I will, this is a Gainsborough representative, and I certainly don't want to take anything away from Mr. Supervisor Ewing, but Mr. Housey hasn't expressed an interest in extending his term on the Social Services Board. So if Mr. Ewing would like to make that motion.
You saved me a phone call tomorrow. I was getting ready to call him. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Hazy to the as the Gainsborough representative, Social Services Board.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
And the second, is there any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. M. Frank Hasley is reappointed as Gainsborough District Representative to the Planning or Social Services Board. Winchester Regional Airport. Are we ready?
Mr. Chairman, I'll talk with Mr. Rakert, see if he's willing to serve.
All right, sir. Thank you. Development Impact Model Oversight Committee. This looks like the entire group. So an annual appointment. Have we contacted these folks? Has anyone talked with them?
I have not.
Want to, or we want to move forward?
We could check with Top of Virginia. Those would be
They're the ones
Two
that
that I would be
sometimes they prefer to change, so let's delay this one. It's not until next month anyway. Actually, June, end of June. All right, that brings us to the end of committee appointments. Request from the Commissioner for refunds.
Yes, sir, you have two. The first one in your packet is a request to authorize the treasurer to refund Ferguson Enterprises Incorporated the amount of $3,712.80 for adjustment of business license taxes from 2014 through the first half of 2017. This refund resulted from reclassification of business license taxes. So you would need to approve the refund and also the supplemental appropriation.
How would the board like to handle this one?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the refund in the amount of $3,712.80 and the corresponding supplemental appropriation.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
A second, is there any discussion? Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
The second refund is to an undisclosed taxpayer who is a disabled vet, and we can't make the name public because of the legal requirement for privacy in that case. The refund is in the amount of $3,338.56 from 2011 through 2016 for real estate taxes based on proper filing of proof of 100% permanent and total disability directly due to military service as required under the Virginia code change because of the constitutional amendment that took in effect in 2011. So you would need to approve the refund as well as the supplemental appropriation.
Thank you. How would the board like to handle this one?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the refund of $3,338.56 and the supplemental appropriation.
Thank you, sir. Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
In the second, is there any discussion? Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, that will bring us to the Human Resources Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee met on June 1st. I'm sorry. We met last week. The first item on our agenda you took care of earlier, giving the monthly award to Ms. Myers, and on behalf of the committee, I'd like to say congratulations to her for the award. The second item that does require action is that Ms. Green from the Social Services Department met with us. The state has come up with $5.4 million for additional 74 new local FSS positions, of which Frederick County is eligible for $218,860 of that amount. Mrs. Green is requesting the approval of two positions and her staff, and the committee approved or recommended approval of the two positions be put on the allocation list, understanding that they have to go to the Finance Committee for appropriation. So I would move for approval of the two positions to be added to the allocation list.
Heard the motion to approve, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second, is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Fisher?
this is a grant, you say? Or
additional funding.
Funding from, is this like a 1 or 2 year program? Or is it, this is something that's will
I
continue?
understand it's continuous, yes.
If I may,
There is
Mr.
a
Chairman.
15.5% local contribution, which the Finance Committee will be covering that part of it when it goes before them.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Lofton?
If I may, I believe at the meeting it was discussed, and this is in response to a new federal mandate where the Social Services Department has to actually make more reporting. It basically goes back to drug-exposed infants and the way they have to deal with those, which means there'll be more time spent, more inquiries made, and more time taken to make sure these infants are treated in the way that the federal government says they should, and so that's why the federal and state government have allocated more money, and this is an ongoing, it's not a grant that ends in a particular time, it's an ongoing situation with them, if that helps.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could add to that. In discussing these positions with Mrs. Green, we had her explain to the committee in detail a lot of the problems with the drug problems in the area and what these positions would be doing. And I've asked Mrs. Garten to meet with you and see if we could work in a time period into a work session to where Mrs. Green could attend the work session and explain to the whole board the situation that exists within the county regarding drugs in her department. So heads up on what's coming.
Thank you. We'll follow through with that. So, we had a recommendation
A motion and a second.
in a second.
A second, yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? All right. That concludes your report, sir?
That concludes the reports.
Thank you. The Finance Committee?
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee held a meeting on April the 19th at 8 a.m. Item number 3 was recommended for approval under consent agenda, and I would so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
Item number 1, the Parks and Recreation Director requests a general fund supplemental appropriation in the amount of $89,777 to install a playground at Rose Hill Park. Of this amount, $68,577 are proffer funds, and $21,200 are funds received from the Glass Glen Burney Foundation. The committee recommends approval, and I would so move.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
And a second. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
This takes us to item number 2. The Parks and Recreation Director requested a general fund supplemental appropriation in the amount of $197,000 of proffer funds to design and install parking and a trail at Frederick Heights Park. The committee took no action, and I believe, sir, that the reason the committee did not wish to take action at that time is they wanted more time for thought before making a recommendation to the board, given the sizable dollar figure that was being requested. And I would therefore like to request or recommend that this request be sent back to the Finance Committee to provide a recommendation at a future meeting to the board with answers to the following questions. And some of the questions that I've gleaned from some of the members as to what they would like to know is why the park was placed on the CIP, when it was placed on the CIP, when the project, if funding is approved, would be implemented. And I've also, after the meeting and hearing from some of the public, one of the questions that a citizen raised was, did the engineering study also address cost implications associated with the wetlands? So I don't know if we could be provided that information at the Finance Committee as well, particularly if there would be additional cost to the project. So I would like to make that recommendation as a motion, if I may.
And a motion to that effect. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
A second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Dunn?
this park is a park in Frederick County. It's a neighborhood park. It's approximately 10 acres. Right now, it's not usable. The county spends money to go and mow the park, but there's no trail. There is a half-court basketball court there, which has upheaval in the concrete, so it's really not usable. There's a small gym set for young children. If you were a parent and were wheeling a child on a baby carriage, it would take 4 to 5 minutes to go from the entrance point to where that spot is. Mrs. Slaughter has raised some concerns, and they're valid concerns, So I'll concur with her comments on sending it back to finance, but the county needs to understand that this is a good park. It needs to be upgraded to make it a usable park. When businesses come into this community, they look for parks. It's a great neighborhood park if it is gone and made into a usable situation. If it is not, then I would ask the county to consider other uses for this because it's an asset that we need to keep and make usable. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion, anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir?
just a
Mr.
question. Ms. Slaughter, do you have any idea when you would want to bring it back to the Finance Committee?
At our very next meeting, I would, and I understand that Parks and Rec, of course, would certainly like an answer as soon as they could, because obviously the weather is such that they would want to begin work on it while weather permits.
Thank you.
Further discussion, anyone? Are you ready? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no? All right, we'll send that back to finance and hopefully get it accomplished.
All right, sir. Then that will take us to item number 4. The voter registrar requests a general fund supplemental appropriation in the amount of $49,551.70. This amount represents funds required for the June Democratic and Republican primaries. Local funds are required, and Mr. Miller is here in the audience if the board would have any questions. The committee recommends approval, and I would so move.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
A second. Any questions of Mr. Miller? Anyone?
I'll ask my standard question. We don't have an option here, do we? Thank you.
I could echo
Always a good reason.
Same question?
past Supervisor Collins' thing,
Yeah.
getting the parties to pay for it, but we don't have that option.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Supervisor Slaughter.
Aye.
Supervisor Wells.
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn.
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We amended our agenda, and I would like to address the last item of the report. On March the 15th, the Finance Committee considered a request from Stevens City Fire and Rescue Company. The request was for a general fund supplemental appropriation in the amount of $224,105.51. At the time, the committee recommended approval, and it came to the board on March the 22nd. The board, Supervisor Fisher, as chairman of the Public Safety Committee, felt like that it should go back to Public Safety Committee and that they should make sure that everything was in good order and that we were meeting the proper guidelines, et cetera. At the public safety meeting on April the 20th, Mr. Fisher has reported that the Public Safety Committee found no issues with the request, and therefore I would like to make a recommendation that we move this request forward for approval. And that is my motion, sir.
And a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion. All right, Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Supervisor Wells.
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries.
And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, that will bring us to a public hearing, outdoor festival permit request of Opequon Presbyterian Church. Anyone presenting? Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, or good evening, I should say. Excuse me, I've been up since
It's Mike.
early. Anyway, our request is very simple. Our church is holding, like we proposed to do last year, an outdoor festival to highlight our mission activities. Last year, we were not able to hold it outside due to the date of April 9th. We had gusty winds of 45 miles an hour and snow squalls. So we moved it inside, and it went off very well inside. And this year, we moved it to May, hoping for better weather. Very simple. We're going to have a couple bands. It will be during the day, so there won't be any disturbance in the evenings, won't be any lights. We've talked to the retirement community next to us, and they are fine with it. There will be no alcohol. We will not be charging any admission. There will be activities which people can pay for and food and such. But it's a very simple event, and it should not really interfere with anything in the neighborhood. The guys over in the battlefield are fine with it too, by the way.
If we could just have your name and magisterial district,
Oh,
please,
yes.
for the record.
I'm Mike Butler, and we are, what is our district? Is that Opacan?
No, it's magisterial
Back Creek.
district.
Back
The
Creek.
church itself's in Back Creek.
Back Creek, yes.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Mr. Butler? Anyone? Thank you, sir. It's a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment concerning this festival permit application? Anyone at all? And we'll close the public comment portion. How would the board like to handle this one?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
not having any adverse remarks from any of the neighbors from last year, of course, it was held inside, and figuring that this festival is being put on by a higher power than I would move for approval of the application for the outdoor festival permit of the Pecan Presbyterian Church.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. That will bring us to a proposed conveyance of the Clouser Foundation for a 99-year lease. Staff participating, thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you is a request for a leasehold on a piece of land. To my right is a little depiction of the area we're talking about. This is in Shawnee Land Sanitary District. The little map in the top is a higher level view. You'll see the lake, Cherokee, and the dam, the areas down below, and then with the little yellow flag is the council house or the Clouser house. As you go back and zoom in on the house, basically it's a structure that was built a long time ago. It's been in disrepair to the point where structural repairs needed to be done. The advisory committee had decided that they weren't going to take any action on it, and a group of people from in the community and the surrounding area got together and wanted to save the house. This process started late last spring, so we're back in under a year, so that's a good thing. A lot of things were going on. At first, wasn't a lot of consensus, and then it seemed like people got behind it. Several supervisors got involved, several different committee groups. A lot of work has went in to coming up with this leasehold agreement. So at the end of the day, a group has been formed called the Clouser Foundation, who is going to take on the project of maintaining the facility, doing the structural repairs, and fundraising to make it happen. We kind of got to an impasse about how to deal, either transfer the land fee simple, and then an idea come up about a 99-year lease, which kind of answered a lot of, it provided answers to a lot of different scenarios. So at this point, there's a lease that's been drafted. Both groups, the groups being Frederick County and the Clouser Foundation, have agreed to terms to take about an 18,000 square foot area, approximately 0.4 acres, that's going to encapsulate the house, a strip of land adjacent to the parking lot, and then a graveyard area that's on the top side of the parking lot. They're going to take over maintaining the grounds, start fundraising, and fix up the facility so that people can view it. One of the challenges we had on the bigger view, on the higher level view, of course, is that the structure is within the inundation area of Cherokee Dam. So we had to work with engineers, surveyors, Department of Dam Safety, got it all resolved as long as the facility is used for just historical purposes, for viewing, limited access, and all that's been taken care of. So before you is a request for that leasehold. I do want to thank several different groups, the Board of Supervisors, Public Works Committee, the county staff, the county's attorney's office, Shawnee Land Sanitary District Advisory Committee, the Clouser Foundation, and many other citizens. So it was a very good collaboration, which at some points we didn't know we'd get here, but we bring that to you tonight.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Wilder? Anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. President Dunn.
just for the record, you made the comment about adjacent to the parking lot. It also includes in our packet the area in front of the house down to Tomahawk Trail. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You have the full plat in your
Thank
packet.
you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions for Mr. Wilder? Anyone? Thank you, sir.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak concerning this proposed lease? Anyone at all? Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gokenauer, how are you?
I'm just fine, sir. How about yourself?
Good, thanks.
Good. And you know that he's just announced who I am. I'm Patsy Gokenauer from the Redbud District. And in regard to this 99-year lease, one may ask, how do you measure time? And it is a fact that you cannot save time or make up time. But it is my opinion that you should embrace time. In fact, Benjamin Franklin said, do not squander time, for time is the stuff life's made of. So the Clouser family and the Clouser house have stood the test of time. And in the early days of the 1700s on the frontier of Virginia, on into the 21st century, now that makes it April the 26th, 2017. And the same moon that is shining down on the Clouser descendants today is the same moon that shone down on their forefathers, and the same moon that shone down in the Garden of Gethsemane 2,000 years ago, and the same moon used to divide night and day. So in conclusion, and in my support, I quote William Penn of the same time period of the Clouser family living in this new world. And his words of wisdom, and asking and using his words of wisdom for a positive vote on the 99-year lease. Any good I can do, let me do it now, and not defer from it, for I pass this way but once. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment?
Hello, I'm Anna Campbell, and I am a resident of Shawnee Land since 1990. I have seen the council house in its various stages over the 25 years or more, and I, too, support a favorable response, a favorable vote for the 99-year lease. And I'm glad to see this concluding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patty Yarbrough. I'm a resident of Shawnee Land, and I support this foundation for its historical purpose. I think it's imperative that the building is allowed to remain and to be studied and to be dug around for our youth to have an opportunity to see more of the historical value that we have, not just in Shawnee Land, but in Winchester, Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Yes, sir.
I'm Larry Allen Clouser Webb. I'm president of the Clouser Foundation. I'd like to add just one thing. With all the pounds of paperwork that we've gone through for the last year, pulling our hair out, thinking about, scratching our head, will this work? We just received our letter from the Internal Revenue Service. We are a 5031(c) organization now. Thank you for your help. It's been a long trip. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone?
Good evening. My name is Dodie Stottlemyre, and I'm from the Shawnee District. I do not live in Shawnee Land, but I've followed their journey over the last year, and I think that many other residents in the county support this venture, and we ask that you approve the 99-year lease. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone?
Hi, I'm Ruth Perrine, and I live in Shawnee Land, and I ask also that you approve this 99-year lease. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, I'm sorry, yes, please.
I'll just be brief. I'm Gretchen Coffey, and I live in the Back Creek District. I'm not near the house, the Clouser House, but I speak on behalf of all the people that are interested in history that live in this area, Winchester and Frederick County, and the people who come here as visitors and tourists. I can picture it now, a brochure for visitors that has a picture or a blurb about the Clouser House. This is definitely something I think that the board would be interested in, and I'm glad that it seems to be happening, that a favorable vote will take place today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Anyone? Last chance. All right, we'll close the public comment portion. We thank you for your input. It's Back Creek.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I would move to convey to the Clouser Foundation an 99-year leasehold interest in tax parcel 49A-02-2-F in the Back Creek District, more commonly known as the Clouser House.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Chairman.
Second, is there any discussion? Supervisor Lofton.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to echo several of the comments that have been made here. This has been a long journey, and I thank all those who have been a part of that journey for all these years. Thank you for your time, your patience, for your input, and thank, again, those that Mr. Wilder thanked, coming together, discussing it, debating it, and finding a workable solution that I believe will be good for the community and good for the county. And so I am happy that we are at this point. We have clearly memorialized the responsibilities of each party, and I'm sure that each party will now undertake those responsibilities and make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Supervisor Fisher.
Mr. Chairman and Board, we hear so much negative stuff nowadays, people not being able to get together, and I tell you what, I'm proud to be a citizen of Frederick County. I appreciate staff's efforts. I appreciate the citizens, folks in the Clouser Foundation, Public Works Committee, Mr. Dunn. It's just a real tribute, and I hope the media puts some positive spin on this thing. People sit down. It's been a long time. There were a lot of things that had to be worked out, but they sat down face to face and talked to people, and they were civil about it. And a lot of credit goes to these folks. It makes me proud to be associated with these folks.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Supervisor Dunn.
A year ago, we came here with the prospect of this house being torn down. And so I want to thank Josh Janey, who's a reporter for the Winchester Star, for writing an article talking about this house. Prior to a year ago, there have been ongoing discussions in this house for a 2, 3, 4-year time frame. Mr. Janey wrote the article. It was the first time that I was aware of the house. This house is a house on the frontier, if this were the year 1775. This is a house where in Winchester City, George Washington is representing constituents the way we are today. This is an area where you have Indian raiding parties that have life and death decisions on people, and this Clouser family, part of them were destroyed and killed in an Indian raid. So there's a lot of history here in Frederick County. So, Mr. Janey, thank you for writing a very good article. And for those that talked about that, including Anna Campbell, who made the comment, what do we do now? I just want you to know that people on this board listen and read, and when you make comments, you do get a positive response. So those comments were my initial efforts to try to save this house. I thank Mr. Lofton for his work. It's not in my district, but Mr. Lofton has been very amenable on working with this as well. And I think it's an excellent combination of people from a variety of views to try to save an historical structure that very much represents Frederick County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Further discussion, anyone? Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Supervisor Wells.
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. We congratulate and thank everyone for all their time and effort. That will bring us to conditional use permit 0317. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This conditional use permit before you tonight is for property located on 211 Rebecca Drive. It's currently in the, it's in the Red Bud Magisterial District. It's currently zoned RP, Residential Performance, and its current use is for a residence. The CUP before you tonight is for in-home daycare. And if I could turn your attention to the map on your left, there's obviously the zoning of the property. Property is outlined in black. Property is surrounded by RP, or Residential Perform Zone property, and their land uses are residential and open space respectively. Again, this is an aerial photograph of the residence where this proposed conditional use permit will take place. Mr. Chairman, as you're well aware of, that an in-home daycare facility is permitted use in the Residential Performance Zoning District with an approved conditional use permit. This in-home daycare facility will care for 12 children and have 2 employees assigned to it. Should the Board of Supervisors find this use to be appropriate, the Planning Commission recommended the following conditions be attached to this conditional use permit. 1, all review agency comments should be complied with at all times. Number 2, the hours of operation shall be permitted from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. The applicant shall satisfy the licensing requirements of the Virginia Department of Social Services and the County of Frederick. Number 4, 1 cottage occupation sign is permitted. Number 5, other than the children residing on the property, there shall not be more than 12 children being cared for at any given time. Number 6, other than those persons residing on the property, there shall be no more than 2 employees working with this daycare at any time. And number 7, any expansion or change of use require a new conditional use permit. And for the record, Mr. and Mrs. Elected are here to answer any questions you, Mr. Chairman, or board members may have on this conditional use permit for an in-home daycare facility. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Chairman? Thank you, sir. Ms. Luckett, is there anything you'd like to add? If you would come to the podium, please, ma'am.
I'm Kelly Luckett. How are you? Right now, I don't have anything else to add other than I just hope that you approve the conditional use permit.
The questions for Ms. Luckett? Anyone? Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment concerning this proposed conditional use permit? Anyone at all? Anyone? Seeing no one, we'll close the public comment portion. Discussion, recommendation.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Supervisor Ewing.
I ask Mr. Sharon, have you had any complaints at all from any of the residents?
No, sir.
Generally, how many home care facilities in the county that have 10 to 12 students? Can you give me an estimate?
We
In a
currently,
residential area.
currently on our books, and I just went 10 years, just did a 10-year time frame. We actually have approved, or this board has approved since 2010, conditional use permits for in-care child facilities. Now, some of them had come up before you because they want to expand the children where they are caring for. Currently, the way our code is written, you're allowed to care for up to 5 children without coming in front of this board. Anytime you go over that number, you need a conditional use permit. So in those districts, to answer your question, Mr. Ewing, breaking it down, there's probably about, out of the 10 that I looked at, 6 of them were in the RP zoning district. The rest of them were out in the RA rural areas. The average, and I just averaged it out before the meeting, most of them had come forward just to add between 8 and 10 children because of that threshold of 5 that they couldn't go over. For instance, we had one applicant that was before this board, I think it was 2 years ago, started out with 6 and actually had to get 2 more children. She had to come back to update her conditional use permit.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I bring it up, I think we're at a point that we're mixing a fairly large business into the middle of a residential area. Now, I don't want to hold up this application, but I think it's something that we might want to go back and review some on, but I'll get with planning staff on it. I have some reservations in this large of a business being in a residential area. Thank you.
Sir, is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Redbud, sir.
a couple months ago, we were in a similar situation, and Mr. Ewing has raised some points. The applicant currently has an existing situation where they have 4 to 5 children in this daycare center, so it's an ongoing operation currently. One of my concerns was that if you had, to answer Mr. Ewing's comments, a large commercial operation, would it have a significant impact or a footprint in the neighborhood? I have sat in my car outside of the applicant's home on 3 occasions and not seen any significant increase for the existing operation that's been there. In addition, the applicant has said that the pickup times are staggered through the day and the drop-off times are staggered through the day. And so although it's a residential area, there seems to be no footprint. Mr. Ewing's making some good comments on his concerns, and I recognize those. But in this case, I think that you do not see a significant footprint, and therefore, I would move to go and approve this application.
A motion to approve, is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Is there any discussion? Anyone? All right. Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries. Mr. Chair, conditional use permit 0417.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is for an in-home daycare facility to be located at 120 Refuge Church Road. It's in the Opeka Magisterial District. It's zoned RA rural areas, and the current land use is residential. Again, if I could turn your attention to the map on your left, this is an aerial photograph of the property, obviously surrounded by black, outlining the property. Furthermore, this is a sort of a pictometry of the property. It's a 7-acre parcel. Give you an idea what what's located on the property currently. Mr. Chairman, an in-home daycare facility is a permitted use in the RA zoning district with an approved conditional use permit. This proposed home daycare facility will take place on a 7-acre parcel for carrying up to 12 children. There'll be 1 employee associated with this application. This proposed use will need to utilize a new septic system. The applicant has requested delay in installing the septic system for 1 year of the approval of the conditional use permit. A condition of the CUP is that the applicant installs an improved septic system within 1 year of approval of the date of the conditional use permit, or the conditional use permit will then become void and be revoked if the septic system is not installed. Staff would note the applicant has applied for a septic permit through the Frederick County Health Department and has engaged a septic company. As of the Planning Commission 2 weeks ago, the applicant actually got approval for the septic system to start working on it. Staff felt the condition at the time that the applicant came in would be applicable. The applicant did not want to go ahead and dig the septic system and take a chance of the CUP being turned down by the Board of Supervisors. So that's why the conditions was added. And it is on your conditions that was presented to the Planning Commission. So should the Board of Supervisors find this use to be appropriate, the Planning Commission will recommend the following conditions be assigned to this conditional use permit. Number one, all review agency comments shall be complied with at all times. And number two, the hours of operations shall be from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The applicant shall satisfy the license requirements of the Virginia Department of Social Services and the County of Frederick. Number four, the applicant shall apply for and install an approved septic system with the 1-year approval date of this conditional use permit. If the system is not installed within the 1 year, the CUP will be deemed invalid. And number five, the conditional use permit will be invalid, and it will also be revoked. It would have to come back in front of you if condition number 4 was not satisfied. Number 6, under the conditions, is 1 cottage occupation sign is permitted. Number 7, other than the children residing on the property, there should be no more than 12 children being cared for at any given time. Number 8, other than those persons residing in the property, there should be no more than 1 employee working with daycare at any time. And number 9, any expansion or change use require a new conditional use permit. For the record, Ms. Tricia Shanholtz is here to answer any questions you or board members, Mr. Chairman, may have on this proposed conditional use permit for an in-house daycare facility, and staff is here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Chair, and anyone? I have to ask.
Yes, sir.
Same number of children on a much larger parcel in the rural areas, and we're restricting it to 1 employee. Is this related to the health permit?
Actually, it was the applicant asked for the 1 employee.
Doesn't seem equitable to me.
I understand, Mr. Chairman, but that's...
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, Mr. Chairman? Thank you. Ms. Shanholtz?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Tricia Shanholtz, and I currently run a daycare out of my home since 2008. And I do live in the rural area, and because of the water flow, that's why they're making me put in the septic system. I've already worked with the engineer, the health department since September 1, and we've gone through all of the headaches and so forth. Come to find out, we thought that we were just going to have to add trenches, but because of the Chesapeake Wayward Law, that we do have to put in it's called an Advantex RT unit, and it's for the nitrate reduction. So, we've already got all of the plans, everything's been approved, and at this time, we're waiting for the approval, and I actually have families that are interested in joining my daycare as of the fall. So, with you guys tonight, if you have any questions for me, I'd really appreciate this, because if this doesn't go through, then I have to leave my dream home. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions, Ms. Shanholtz, anyone? Yes, sir. Supervisor Dunn.
The chairman just made a comment on 1 employee. Do you have any objections on having 2 employees? Not that you'd have to have 2 employees, but have the capability of having 2 employees?
I wasn't aware that I could. When I put 1 employee, it was myself and another person. If we could add that, that would be great.
So if I made an amendment at some point in time, would you object to that?
No, I would love that, because.
Thank you.
Other questions, Ms. Shanholtz, anyone? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment concerning this application? Anyone at all? Seeing no one, we'll close the public comment portion. Mrs. O'Pekin.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of the conditional use permit number 04-17, Little Angels Learning Center, a child care facility at 211 Rebecca Drive.
Sir, second.
Second.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that would be...
That's not where it's located on Rebecca Drive.
It's not on Rebecca, it's actually...
That's the applicant, the address there.
No,
It's
sorry.
on,
Refuge Church.
Refuge Church.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. It's on Refuge Church Road. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Okay. So we're at discussion. Supervisor Dunn.
Mr. Chairman, on the comments that you made earlier, and Mr. Wells, if you have no objections, I'd like to amend the proffer to allow up to 2 employees on this application.
So there's a proposed amendment. Is there a second to the amendment?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
And a second. Is there discussion on the amendment?
This is just to go to make it fair, Mr. Chairman.
No, I would agree. I asked the same question. I do think that you would need to make sure the health department permit shows that. Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? All right, Supervisor Ewing.
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn.
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton.
Aye.
Supervisor Wells.
Aye.
Supervisor Slaughter.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Now we're on the amended motion, which would change the number of employees to 2 from 1. How would the board like to handle it?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir?
We had that motion
We had
already.
a
We had a motion that's now amended, and we're ready to go. We don't need another motion, and so that's my fault, and I'm sorry. Did you have another comment, Supervisor Fisher? Okay. All right, so we're ready to vote on the amended motion? Supervisor Slaughter?
Aye.
Supervisor Wells?
Aye.
Supervisor Lofton?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Dunn?
Aye.
Supervisor Ewing?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and the motion carries, and with the amended of up to 2 employees. Thank you, ma'am. All right, that will bring us to board liaison reports. Are there any?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Supervisor Dunn.
The Hanley Library Board thanks Mrs. Garten and the board for the appropriations they put in the FY17 budget. They are very much appreciated, and they want to convey their thanks to the administrator and to the board.
Thank you, sir. Other board liaison reports, are there any? All right. Citizen comments, portion of the meeting for citizens' comment on any issue whatsoever. Welcome, sir.
Yes, my name is Alan Morrison, Gainsborough District. We've been through this process with the Clouser House, the Clouser Foundation, and I would like to commend the elected officials and the county staff members that have worked so hard on this, and also the citizens that were involved. We live in a time when all citizens believe they are entitled, that things happen for them, that the government should do everything. And we've just been through a process now is that when we involve citizens, that we can achieve a lot and that we should be encouraging more of this type of activity. It's a difficult process. It requires effort on your part, but this is coming out. It's going to be a savings to Frederick County in money and effort, and it's going to be enhancing the county for a lot of things. So not only should we be happy that this one event has happened and it's come out well, we should be looking for other opportunities to do the same thing, rather than sitting back and saying, let the government do it for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to comment? Any subject? Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ruth Brine, and I live in Shawnee Land, located in the Back Creek District. As most know by now, I'm mixed up in this whole Clouser House thing, and what a trip it's been. I'm very pleased that this leg of the journey is now over, and grateful to be standing before a board who value the importance of preserving our history for generations to come. Thank you for your decision. Had it not been for Supervisor Dunn reading the March 2016 Winchester Star article written by Josh Janey about the vote of the Shawnee Land Advisory Committee to demolish the Clouser House, and had it not been for Larry Clouser Webb reading the subsequent article written a year ago tomorrow about Supervisor Dunn's interest in saving the house, and had it not been that Larry was standing near the front counter at the post office when I stepped up to it, and knowing I am a Shawneeland resident, asked me about the news of his family homestead, and had it not been that I could see the desperation and passion Larry had to save this house, and for my realization that I was someone who held the information needed to pursue this, and had it not been for Larry arranging for me to meet with Mrs. Gochnauer who then relayed my information to Supervisor Dunn, and had it not been that after his presentation on the Claremont Foundation at the Handley Library, I introduced myself to Bob Stagg and proceeded to inform him of the history and fate of the Clouser House. And had it not been that when I was done, he said, "This house needs to be saved." And had it not been for those who spoke last May to this board, who then granted a stay of execution, and had it not been after that meeting for my acceptance to Supervisor Dunn's request that I chair a committee to save the house, well, I wouldn't have been on the ride I've been on for the past year. At the time, I had no idea getting to this point and saving the Clouser House would be at the top of the list of unique challenges in the field of preservation. I want to express my appreciation for all the hard work of those on the previous committees who laid the groundwork for us, as well as members of the Citizens Committee to Preserve the Clouser House, especially Bob Stagg, my co-chair, who jumped in with both feet and whose knowledge, experience, and countless hours of work contributed to our success. I also want to thank Larry Clouser-Webb, our research guru and president of the Clouser Foundation, who should have a pew here named after him, and Karen Burke, secretary of both the committee and the foundation, whose meticulous work and organizational skills have been a huge asset to us. I'd like to thank our attorney, Mr. Downing, and the county attorney, Mr. Williams, for pulling the agreement together and producing an acceptable solution. I also want to recognize Supervisor Dunn for taking the initiative to keep the Clouser House alive when all was lost. Even with the many hours a week he puts in as a Board of Supervisor, sometimes 5 or 6 nights a week, and sometimes attending several events in one evening, he never lost his drive nor his sense of humor. I'd also like to thank all our spouses, families, and partners, especially mine, for putting up with our absence, stress, and focus away from them, and for caring more than their share of an equal relationship in doing so, sacrificing their own needs for the cause we champion. What I share with you tonight is what can happen when the pieces come together, what can happen when there is support, what can happen as a result of hard work, and what can happen when the will is tested. Upon the signing of the lease, the Citizens Committee to Preserve the Clouser House will dissolve. Our work will be done. The Clouser Foundation, created by us, is ready for its role in preserving the Clouser House. You can help by making a tax-deductible donation to the Clouser Foundation, which can be sent to 152 Tomahawk Trail, Winchester, Virginia, 22602. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Any issue whatsoever? Anyone? We thank you for your comments. We'll close the comment portion. Board of Supervisors comments. Are there any?
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Dunn.
It's been a long day. It's been a long year. So to the Clouser Group and to the Clouser Foundation, thank you for all your work. To Ruth Perrine, thank you very much. Without you, we would not be here today. To Bob Stig, thank you. Your expertise has been great. Mr. Larry Webb Clouser, thank you very much. Without you, we would not be here today. To Anna Campbell, to Roger Langhorn and the others, thank you so much for a year of work. To Mr. Lofton, to Mr. Wells, who a year ago we were having a discussion on here on what could be done or could not be done. Thank you for your help. Thank you for working with us to have a very favorable resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I had the pleasure of attending the Shrando FFA banquet this week. It was a banquet, award banquet, and I just want to say what an honor it was to be among students and teachers and parents who are continuing the life of our agricultural community. it was a great event. It was a lot of fun, great event, a lot of nice students there.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Supervisor Fisher.
Mr. Chairman, at our last meeting, we had an item that came to us as a discussion item with a recommendation to go to public hearing dealing with, I'll call it medical offices in the RP area. I've looked into that. I've had my questions answered. Mr. Ruddy even gave me a little draft thing tonight that even solidifies the fact that it'll put some controls on where these facilities go. So I know I had the major questions about it, so I just wanted to say if the board's ready, take this back to a discussion item with a recommendation to go back to public hearing, to get it back on our agenda in the near future or at the next meeting, whatever's suitable.
Next meeting.
Sure, duly noted by staff. Anyone else? Any comment at all? Vice Chairman Fisher.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
To adjourn, is there a second?
Second, Mr.
Second,
Chairman.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. We'll stand adjourned. We thank everyone for their time and attention and their input.